comic book fans. wiyy85 was making a contest for people talking about their comics from their childhood. Now, I don't actually, since his childhood was the 90s, and that's where all his comics are from, I wanted to show some comics from my childhood in the 1970s and give a little bit of my comic collecting origin story. Now, look at how beaten up this is, huh? This is the original copy that I've had since 1976. I believe the cover date is June 1976. So I was 9 going on 10. And though this wasn't the first comic I had, it's when I started collecting comics. Here's a much nicer copy that I got years later. As you can see, I got it just because I wanted a nicer copy. But of course, I still kept my original from when I was 10. How could I get rid of that? But like I said, I had some comics when I was a kid. I wasn't really a comic book collector. But then I got Hulk 200 and really liked it. And discovered that my neighbor had Hulk 201, 202, and 203. And those are also the original copies from you can see, especially Hulk 202. I must have, really liked this one. Because that's all destroyed. I read these over and over and over. There's yet a third copy of Hulk 200 that I have. That one's got a bent bag. We'll just leave that one down. That's why it fell. So what I did, this is when I first discovered that comics have numbers and all go in a row and make one big story. So I had my Hulk 200 and I traded him every comic that I had. I don't even remember what comics I had. For Hulk 201, 202, and 203. And that was the beginning of me collecting comics. I've collected them ever since. So the Hulk was my favorite book as a kid. And it was also the book where I discovered that people actually make comics. Because these 4 issues of the Hulk were drawn by Sal Buscema. So he was obviously then the first Hulk artist that I knew. So then in Hulk 204, which I got shortly after, Herb Trimpe, the artist before Sal Buscema on the Hulk, came back. And I remember looking at this issue going, why does the Hulk look so different? That doesn't look like the Hulk. What's going on here? That's when 9 or 10-year-old me discovered that there are credit boxes in comics. And I was like, whoa, there are credit boxes in comics? That must mean people do them. They don't just appear out of nowhere. So that was another discovery of mine. Not only do comics go all in a row and make one big story, but people do them. Herb Trimpe also did the 205 of the Hulk, which I always liked. And Savage Combat with the Crypto Man. I just remember that it was a fun Hulk bashing a robot story. But these are, like, I collected Hulk all through my childhood. I probably stopped collecting Hulk around issue 300, and haven't really bought it much since. I never got into the Hulk, the Hulk of the 90s or anything like that. So I haven't bought it much, bought it much since then. But these were always my favorite. You can see by how much battering they've taken. I read them over and over and over. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you how many times I read this issue of the Hulk. I mean, wow, there's chunks of it missing. There's tape on it. I read this one to death. I wouldn't even know how to get a comic into that condition anymore. But anyway, these are these are oh, and there's 206 just because I have it here. So there's the first 6 or 7 months of my comic collecting, taking you back to 1976, and this what was going on with the Hulk. Catch you later, YouTube.